Hello there. This is Parenthesis, and welcome to the continuation, or should I say, the second part of this sort of video where I discuss every single Jedi who ever lived. Of course, I can't talk about every single one, and I'm sure I'll forget some because it's just impossible to talk about all. But I'm gonna feature as much as I possibly can and tell as much as I possibly know about them in a very interesting way. So, subscribe to the channel, and here we go. Adigalia was a human Chactalan from Chactala. She was basically the apprentice of Master Mace Windu, and they fought together. Around the time of the Clone Wars, she got the apprentice Caleb Doom, who would later become known as Kanan Jarrus, a character prominently featured in Star Wars Rebels. Depa Bilaba basically had a very kind of heroic but unfortunate death. She had sensed the deaths of Master Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plo Koon, and Aayla Secura, so she knew that the clones were going to attack. She had already understood it from her visions of the other Jedi Master's death. So she told her Padawan, Kanan Jarrus, while they were on a mission on one other planet, to run, while she held them off. And sure enough, soon the clones received Order 66 from Emperor Palpatine and began firing at Depa Bilaba. While Kanan basically ran away, she wasn't so happy and was shot down. Jedi Master Pablo Gil was an Ongri from Skastel, and basically he was the Jedi who liberated the planet Ord Mantell. He was later fighting in the Battle of Geonosis and was one of the few who survived the battle. After that, when Chancellor Palpatine was captured by General Grievous somewhere before Revenge of the Sith, he was one of the few Jedi who set out to rescue the Chancellor and didn't give up because of how hard the task was, and nearly completed it by saving the Chancellor, however, not being able to do that because he was killed by Grievous first and couldn't outmatch the cyborg general. Coleman Trebor was a Verk from Sembla, and he was the only known Jedi of his species. He also got the closest to killing Count Dooku in the first Battle of Geonosis, where he nearly striked the old Count, however was killed by the Jango Fett's blaster. He was shot and thrown off the Petranaki Arena balcony. Another interesting fun fact about Coleman Trebor is that in the original cut of Attack of the Clones, instead of him sitting on the Jedi Council, Yarl Poof was. However, due to Yarl Poof might being mistaken for the Kaminoans who were introduced in Attack of the Clones because of them looking so similar, George Lucas thought it would be better to put another character into the council, not to get mixed up between Yarl Poof and the Kaminoans, and he put there Coleman Trebor, replacing all of Yarl Poof's scenes with another CGI kind of model sitting in this chair. Jocasta Nu was a human female from Coruscant. She was the Jedi librarian working in the Jedi archives of the Jedi Temple and sort of preserving the knowledge and helping people find stuff. She was basically the librarian during the Clone Wars, helping to file to the Jedi the information on Sifo Dyas, as well as helping young Ahsoka Tano to get used to working in the library as she was appointed in that place. Another thing I have to say about her is in the recent Darth Vader comics, basically her story was continued, and after she escaped Order 66 from the Jedi Temple, she was gathering a lot of info, everything just to prepare to kind of strike back. And she wanted to create a new Jedi Order. So she went back to the Jedi Temple, which was now the Emperor's Palace, and there in the archive section, she came to her secret vault where she had one of the holocrons stored. In this holocron, there was information on every single Force-sensitive child in the entire galaxy, and she nearly succeeded taking it away. However, her personal kind of agenda really ruined her because she saw the Grand Inquisitor disrespecting her Jedi texts, and she knew that would fail her mission, but she couldn't resist, and she attacked him and sort of went into a duel with him, kind of abandoning her mission. Eventually, Darth Vader fought her, and she wanted to commit suicide. However, Darth Vader saved her, and basically she told him that Darth Vader was just a puppet, and why Palpatine wanted that list was due to it having every Force-sensitive child and him being able to replace Vader with someone new. So Vader killed Jocasta Nu, or she sacrificed, I don't remember. However, Vader later destroyed the crystal, either because he didn't had sort of a moment of not wanting those kids to be harmed by his master, or that he didn't want him to be replaced by his master. So he destroyed the crystal and told Palpatine that they didn't find anything. Luminara Unduli was a Mirialan from Mirial. It was a tradition for their species to sort of take apprentices of their own species, so Luminara Unduli took as an apprentice another Mirialan called Barriss Offee. We'll talk about her later. Luminara Unduli was basically the Jedi Master who fought in the Battle of Geonosis and later aided the clones and the Wookiees and Yoda in the Battle of Kashyyyk. When Order 66 was executed, she was believed for several years to have been killed and be dead. However, the Empire had a different plan for her. So what the Empire did with her, basically they used her as bait to sort of trap surviving Jedi. They sort of used her to give some information to other surviving Jedi that she's still alive, and when those Jedi want to rescue her, to sort of save her, the Jedi Kanan Jarrus and Ezra, who did exactly that, came but then realized that it was all a trap, because Luminara Unduli by that time was already killed by the Empire, and all that they ever saw of her was simply kind of this sort of illusion, as she was already mummified and dead long ago. So that's the story of Luminara Unduli. Another Mirialan, coincidentally the apprentice of Luminara Unduli, was of course previously mentioned Barriss Offee. Now, Barriss Offee was basically a Padawan of Luminara Unduli. At the start of the Clone Wars, she kind of collected she built her own lightsaber, completed her training, eventually sort of fought the droids that invaded the Jedi Temple on Ilum, and eventually fought in the Second Battle of Geonosis alongside her friend, another Padawan, the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano. The two were very close friends, and eventually, as the Clone Wars basically were reaching its end, like in the last years of the Clone Wars, she kind of did a very bad thing. She bombed the Jedi Temple because she stopped believing in the Jedi sort of what they said. She thought that the Jedi were now corrupt and sort of went into the wrong direction. So she kind of made a terrorist act, and she blew up the temple and eventually framed her friend Ahsoka for that. And it went to the point where it's like Ahsoka was already excluded from the Jedi Order and was in the court of the Republic. However, Anakin, who still believed in his Padawan, found incriminating evidence against Barriss Offee and brought her before trial. However, after that, Ahsoka Tano was never really the same, and Barriss Offee was sent to prison, her fate remaining unknown. Jedi Master Shakti was a Togruta from Chile. She was a Jedi Master who sat on the Jedi Council in Episode 2 Attack of the Clones and later took part in the first Battle of Geonosis. During the conflict of the Clone Wars, basically what happened is she was placed on Kamino to overlook the creation of the clone army of the Republic and sort of train the clones, view how they are created, stuff like that, controlling everything. However, due to Palpatine being truly in control, she was decepted and sort of didn't understand that the clones actually were kind of pre-ordered to Order 66. So eventually she kind of died because there were three versions of her death. Originally, there was a deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith in which it is shown that she traveled before Obi-Wan and Anakin to save Chancellor Palpatine from General Grievous, however failed and was killed right in their sort of view. So Anakin and Obi-Wan saw her death as General Grievous killed her with her own blade. However, the second version of her death was another deleted scene, but this one wasn't complete, and in this one she meditated in the Jedi Temple when the Purge began and was sliced from the back by Anakin, another very interesting variant. And the third version of her death was in the Force Unleashed video game, where she sacrificed herself jumping into a sarlacc, telling Starkiller that his master will soon betray him, ending herself with a sacrifice. And these are all very good deaths for her. Kit Fisto was an Autolan from Glee Anselm. He was basically a very good swimmer because he came from a water-like planet, and it was a talent for him that he was well known in the Jedi Council for. He sat on the Jedi Council in Episode 2 and also fought in the first Battle of Geonosis. He kind of took the spotlight for the fans, because everyone who watched the film, although he was just an extra, loved his smile. His charming smile took a lot of the attention, so George Lucas gave him a bit of a bigger part in Revenge of the Sith. He was one of the 4 Jedi Masters who went to arrest Palpatine. However, he was the third one to be striked, surviving the first 2 wounds that Palpatine gave him, however eventually being outmatched by the Dark Lord.